Hi, Evan. Thank you for meeting with me today. I just wanted to hop on real quick and again, just a reminder, I'm Brittany with Alicio and I just wanted to hop on and I know you had asked for a demo, and so that's what this is, and we're just gonna go over how Alicio can help you guys over at your real estate business. So with that, we'll just dive right in. Um, Really, I just want to go over our agenda real quick. So what we heard is you got a couple industry. We're first going to go over what we heard, and then we're going to go over industry insights and challenges. Next, we're going to go over our solution, and then finally, we're going to talk about next steps right at the very end. Do you have any questions before we get started? No? Okay, great. Well, we'll just dive right in then. So, first off, I just wanted to recap what we heard from our last meeting. So, first, I wanted to start off with visibility. I know you had talked about how you had difficulty knowing in real time what agents were doing, and you had mentioned a couple of specific metrics that you were trying to track, but you weren't sure how your agents were doing and feel that your agents are maybe lacking on certain performance metrics due to their numbers falling behind where you want them to be. I know you'd mentioned, for example, that agents aren't conducting enough open houses and that they're not taking time to get to know the neighbors and the properties, and really leading to missing out on valuable insights and potential referrals. So, gaining some visibility into what your agents are and aren't doing would really help you to overall benefit your business, and really, especially as a manager, to really know what your 180 agents are doing, especially with being across 18 different offices in three different states. So I know visibility was a really big one, so that's why I wanted to start off with that one. You had also mentioned those core KPI, establishing and monitoring meaningful revenue linked metrics. And I also understand that it's really complex, especially with the number of agents that you guys have, the 180 agents over the 18 offices in the three different states. That's a lot to measure. So really having those core KPIs so you can identify which offices are maybe struggling and why they're struggling really quickly is really going to be very beneficial to you as a company. Is that right? Am I getting those two right? Yeah. Okay, great. Well, then we'll dive right into the next one that I remember hearing was the inconsistency. So you have some agents that are doing so great and they're outperforming their numbers, getting a lot of conversions and really performing well. And then you have other agents who are just not doing what they need to be doing. For example, I know that some agents are not consistently creating quality social media posts, which is one of your main goals for this upcoming year. And I see that that has been affecting your overall online presence and ability to attract leads. And so getting more consistency across all your agents as far as social media and motivation would really, really help. Next, I wanted to touch on coaching. I know that this is kind of that right now what you're doing is a one size fits all approach, and it's failing to leverage individual strengths and weaknesses. And so I know that you're wanting to find a way to coach I mean, you have 180 agents, so not every single one of those agents, or even 10 of those agents, are going to be the same. So I know you're wanting to gain that one-on-one ability to coach your agents like you would in a smaller office. Lastly, I know you mentioned that you were struggling with motivation, struggling to maintain engagement and productivity, and really that was leading to a lot of lower numbers on your end of what you were hoping to see. So, with that little recap on what we were talking about, and just additionally with that motivation, I know that that lack of motivation is kind of causing stress for you due to trying to maintain your year-over-year average this year. Is that right? Yeah. Totally. Yeah, great. Well, I'm glad we're getting all that correct. Is there anything else that you would like me to add before we move on? Oh, are we able to track all of the different social media? Yes, yes, we can. And we'll actually dive a little bit more into that when we talk about features and benefits, but you will be able to track all of your social media KPIs through Elysia. Yeah, and we'll dive a little bit more into that. Sweet. Well, with that, we'll go ahead and move on. Um, I know that what your reps kind of stay up night. I just put myself in the shoes of some of your reps, and really, I think what they're feeling is high pressure to meet quotas. I know you mentioned some inconsistency, some lack of motivation. To me, that's saying a lot of stress, and that's kind of expected when you're in sales. Real estate is sales, and they're facing rejection and the emotional exhaustion. They might feel isolated and unsupported. I know coaching, especially in a one-on-one aspect, is something you are trying to do better at and that you're wanting to increase in your company. So I understand that your reps might be feeling isolated and unsupported right now, and that is something we'd want to fix. I also know that there are unclear goals and expectations. You mentioned KPIs or something that were really important to you. So really clarifying those goals and expectations would help your reps a lot. And struggling with work-life imbalance. Your open houses and then you're trying to do your social media posts and then you're trying to sign different people and then you're trying to get to know the neighbors and it's just a lot of work that's maybe being stretched thin and maybe they're not prioritizing their time and their efforts in the right places. And lastly, I was thinking about how, well, especially with 180 reps, it might be hard to really give the recognition you're probably wanting to give your sales reps, you know? I mean, I'm sure you send emails and you congratulate, but it can be really hard to identify those little wins on an individual basis. And so adding some kind of incentive would really help your reps. Is this sounding right? Is this kind of what you've heard from your reps? Totally, yeah. I also agree what you just pointed out, that they also might be overwhelmed with where to even start or how to organize their day. And I do th agree with you that those KPIs would definitely help to focus where their attention and time is going. Anything else? Yeah, I like that you mentioned that with the hard work and trying to recognize your reps. And we'll go into a little bit of what Elicio does, but we will actually be able to help you to be able to track little wins, micro wins. I know it's really easy, like you mentioned, to be able to congratulate somebody on a big win, like super exceeding quota or meeting a big goal or meeting quotas for the first time or but it's really hard to maybe recognize those micro wins that might fly under the radar. And really, what Alicia will do will help you gain that visibility that you were hoping for at the beginning. Yeah. Well, with that, I think we'll move on to what's next. I wanted to talk a little bit about what I think you might be stressed about a little bit, just from what I've been hearing. With real estate management, I know you have a lot of pressure to meet your revenue targets. 180 different reps, three different states. You're trying to motivate a lot of business, a lot of home selling, and trying to hit those targets can feel overwhelming. You are a manager, but like these are people's jobs and these are homes on the market. You're trying to move families into homes. You're trying to do a lot of good in the world and you really want to reach those targets. And in addition to that, while you're trying to reach those targets, you also have reps who are underperforming. So that can add to that stress of like, I need to reach my target, but I need to help my reps. And my reps need to do better, so I reach my targets. Is that sounding a little familiar? Yeah. And with that, then you have reps that get frustrated and then they get burnt out of like, well, I'm not hitting my revenue targets. Maybe they're not getting the support they need. So then they go find somewhere else, which leads to more turnover, which leads to finding new reps, and that's really overwhelming. Yeah, yeah. Is turnover is actually something that you're dealing with a lot? Tell me a little bit more. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So you're losing a lot of reps every month. Which state would you say are you experiencing that more in? Kentucky? Is it just because that's a little bit further from your Alabama headquarters and your Mississippi? Yeah, yeah, it makes sense that Alabama would be doing the best with turnover being the headquarters. So they're dealing with newer reps who are maybe fresh out of the market, but those Mississippi and Kentucky reps might fly under the radar. Okay, well, that's good to know, just like going into it, that those Mississippi and Kentucky markets and your agents might need more support there. Thank you for diving more into that with me. Um, Along with that, I know with forecasting and everything that with three different markets that you're working in, forecasting might get kind of complicated. Your pipeline might get kind of complicated. I mean, 180 different people selling, and across three states, there's a lot of people moving through the pipeline consistently, and that can get really overwhelming to deal with and track and manage, and maybe things fall through the cracks that are sales you could have had. Yeah. And next, what I'm imagining is with all of that, you're trying to balance the turnover rate and the coaching bottlenecks that you're experiencing, along with the forecasting and trying to hit your revenue goals. So you have this, I'm trying to balance my team and I'm trying to balance individual needs, and that can feel like a lot of pressure, especially for a manager like yourself, Evans. Yeah, yeah. I agree. And that's actually my next point, adapting to changing market conditions. It is a new market. 2024 looks a lot different than 2025. I mean, we got AI now and everything's looking very different. And so, yeah, I, getting insight into what's changing and how it's changing and how to adapt to those changes, what I agree with super help. And yeah, it is something that's really stressful. Last 2 points I want to talk about was communicating with your upper management. I know you're a manager, but then you got people above you that you got to report to, and so try and explain the complexities and the ins and outs of everything that you're managing, especially to your upper management, is really overwhelming, especially when we talked about earlier the KPIs that you were trying to gain insight into and the coaching you're trying to gain insight into. And so I can see why trying to communicate with upper management without a detailed dashboard could be difficult. hmm it's just a lot of competing priorities and just a ton to get done and really hard to organize. And what I really want to do is help you to close that gap between balancing the team and balancing individual needs and trying to reach your revenue goals, but also trying to help individuals thrive. That's exactly what I want to do. That's what I want to help you with. Yeah. Well, with that, I wanted to help you kind of see what's really going on. And what these problems can really be boiled down into three different categories: managing outcomes, inconsistent performance, and lack of engagement. Are you identifying with those? Yeah, exactly. And I want to dive a little bit more into those numbers too. So, managing outcomes, 63 of most organizations, sales organizations, real estate included, do not have a well-defined sales process. So you're not alone. Definitely not alone. A lot of people struggle with this. Sales is hard, especially with a lot of reps and a complicated pipeline like there is in real estate. And only 57 to 60% of the agents actually hit their annual quota. Is that sounding familiar? Yeah. Perfect. I mean, not perfect. I want to change that, but I'm definitely seeing that too. And next, I want to talk about inconsistent performance. It's actually known that 72% of sales leaders are believed that their team's performance was inconsistent or highly variable. Just like we had already talked about earlier, just some agents are posting and having the open houses, getting to know the neighbors, and others are just not. And so that inconsistency can really affect the business. And to build on that, actually 89% of leaders said that they were either somewhat or not very or at all confident in their sales team consistency. And I can see that that is where you're at right now. And what you're wanting to fix is get everybody on the same page, consistently doing things to push revenues and sales forward. Lastly, I want to touch on the lack of engagement. 86% of salespeople and agents included were either not engaged or actively disengaged in their workday, which sounds a lot like when we were talking about creating quality social media posts, which is affecting your online presence, especially when they're not doing those things. So, not engaging in social media, not getting to know the neighbors, not conducting those open houses, that lack of engagement is affecting the work week and your numbers overall. Yeah, we want to fix that. We want to gain that insight. And 42% of agents said they felt burnt out or discouraged in their current role. And I know we had talked about that turnover rate that we were experiencing. And so, all things that we're trying to fix. Oh, and in addition to that, we also talked about how we were experiencing difficulty being able to congratulate our agents. So, while sales leaders are overall seeing that their agents and their sales personnel are not engaged and agents are feeling burnt out. And so closing that gap is what we're here for, and that's what we're all about here at Alessio. Yeah, well, with that, let's just dive in to a solution. So is this ringing about the fire? Everybody's not really on the same page. Agents are burnt out. You're frustrated with agents not being motivated. Yeah, feels like a dumpster fire. I totally get it. Well, we want to fix that dumpster fire. Anyway, so moving on, what we have seen with sales performance platforms, there's three things that we really need to be able to have a successful platform. We need sales activity to be the number one center and focus of that platform. You need to know what you're doing in your business, and you need to have numbers to track that business, KPIs. Companies that have consistently measured and managed their sales activities have achieved 30% higher revenue growth. So, having that insight and a sales process will definitely help your company and will help reduce that burnout that your reps are currently experiencing and to increase that motivation because it's a lot easier to do work when you have a clear path. And so that's what we want to do with getting sales activity more focused on our platform. Next, we have performance visibility. Companies that use data-driven sales coaching achieve a 28% higher win rate and a 33% higher quota attainment. So really what that means is I know we had talked about earlier, like you're lacking visibility in what each individual person needs. So really what you need is a insight into individual sales reps and what they're winning at, what they're losing at, and understanding all that. And next, we have engagement team. I know we talked about reducing that burnout, creating motivation. So being able to have a platform that allows you as a manager to be able to interact with your reps and allow the reps to interact with each other will also really help. That's where we bring in Alicia. So focusing on our sales management and having that sales process, we have a KPI optimization. So this is where you can have a 10-point adaptable framework so we can adapt it right to what you guys are dealing with the real estate industry. We can add a KPI for open houses, and we can do one for how many neighbor contacts you have that week and social media posts as far as closing and just how many contracts are filled out. Anything that you can think of, what we can make a KPI for it. And fully customizable, and it'll be a dashboard on the management platform and all of your reps platform. And really the benefit for you guys is that's going to allow you to have a really quick visibility into all of your 188 reps and what's working and what's not working within a second. You'll know, oh, look, Mississippi's struggling with their open houses this week. I'm gonna go talk to my Mississippi reps and help and encourage them to do open houses. Oh, and Kentucky, they haven't been posting on social media. I'm gonna go send them a content calendar so that they can get posting on social media. And Alabama, they're doing great. And I'm gonna appoint Mississippi and Kentucky to our Alabama leaders to understand what's working. So this will allow you to really just have that up-to-date information on everything that's going on within your organization. Next, we have performance monitoring, and this is real-time instantaneous feedback with multiple data sources and skill versus will reporting. So really what this means is all of your calls, outreach, everything is done within Olysio. And on a one-on-one level, your sales reps are going to get individual coaching through Olysio on what's working and what's not, and you can see it. You can see what's working, what's not on an individual level. And so if a sales rep's really struggling, Alicia will tell you exactly what they're struggling and why they're struggling in it and what they need to do to fix it. So that's that individual coaching that we're talking about, right? And that's going to allow you guys to decrease that burnout, decrease that turnover, and increase motivation and productivity overall for your company, which is going to lead to more sales, more money for you guys. Yeah? And also a little bit less stress in the workday trying to motivate everybody to do the thing because it's more fun to work when you're winning, you know? Yeah. And lastly, what we have is engagement platforms. So competitions is my favorite part. So we're going to be able to set up competitions between your sales reps. So Alabama can compete with Mississippi, and they can compete with Kentucky, and we can see which state's winning. And you can also identify which sales leaders are top performing. And then maybe your lower reps can look up to the sales leaders and say, oh, I'm not doing well. I need to go talk to Janet over in Kentucky because she's doing really, really well selling the same size of homes that I'm selling. I need to go learn from her. And so this allows you guys to create more motivation, more engagement, and increase peer visibility, and also will allow you to recognize and reward people who are winning, like we had talked about. Yeah, I know. I'm really excited too. This is awesome. And I'm excited for you guys. And just driving a little bit more into that. So really what this platform is going to be, I'm going to kind of use this as an example. So what this will be is on your dashboard in this big box area, you'll be able to see all of the KPIs that we set up for your specific company. And then over on the side here of your dashboard specifically, you'll have a spot to set up competitions, you'll have a spot to set up coaching, and then you'll have other settings to set up your KPIs. And so you'll be able to customize all of your KPIs to really get nitty-gritty into what's working for your business. You'll be able to go into individual coaching, see who's struggling, who's winning, and helping you guys know who to promote, helping you know who's struggling and why they're struggling. And then you'll also be able to create those competitions to create that motivation. Yeah. And here's what our other customers are saying. So MongoDB, Alessio helped MongoDB control the quantity and quality of their actions each day. Their account executives have completely adopted Alessio's KPI platform, making it a self-sustained process for his team. And Caller rolled out Alessio with a focus on outputs and daily KPIs, and as a result, they added 2 million in additional revenue within only 45 days. They stated that Alessio had a massive and immediate impact on their business. How would these things affect you guys? Yeah, I know that you're trying to hit those sales goals this year. Would this help? Yeah. If you had that, again, like and Caller, that 2 million additional in revenue within 45 days, how would that affect you personally, just on a personal level? Reduce that stress? Oh, I feel that. I feel that so much. It would help that stress go down a lot. And how would your reps feel, do you think, having that big win? More motivation, maybe more momentum? Yeah, totally agree. So I just want to take a pause real quick and ask if there's any questions before we dive into next step. Okay. Yeah, yeah. So you will actually be able to see real-time analytics and reporting. So like we had said, I'll just go back over to that real quick. So with our KPIs, they're updated as wins happen. They're constantly updated. So you can wake up in the morning and check your KPIs and see how you're doing. And then you can check them again at noon, and you can check them in at night or a million times in the day and see how things are changing. Same thing with the performance monitoring. For example, if you had, like you'd mentioned, a sales rep who might be struggling, you can actually coach them in the morning, have them go try a couple things, and then reach back with them in the afternoon, and all that performance monitoring data will be updated. So everything is real time and is updated throughout the day. So you don't have to wait for data shutdowns, things to update, any of that. It's all as we're going, which is totally essential for somebody who's managing so many reps. Awesome. Yeah, great. So, anyways, so next steps, what we're going to do is we're going to have a follow-up call. We're going to talk numbers and all of the fun stuff and really just see what we can do for you specifically. I really wanted to point out real quick, just right at the very end, what happens for you if we maybe don't hit those revenues that we're hoping to this next year. You'd have to let some people go. That's really hard and not fun. Oh, I don't want that for you. That would really suck. Yeah. Well, I totally hear you. That's really hard. Well, with that, I don't want to see you having to let people go. I want you to win. I want you to be like our Caller customers and have a really big win right out the gates with Alessio. And because of that, I really want to get you started on it as quickly as possible. And really what makes Alessio so different is we are an all-in-one solution, but we have that one-on-one individual contact that most sales companies, like you mentioned, don't really have. We're the only company that does one-on-one coaching where you can see on an individual basis how each of your 180 reps is doing and what their strengths and weaknesses are. And we are also the only sales company that has as customizable of a KPI dashboard as we do to actually be able to customize your KPI dashboard to real estate. Every other company is just focused on sales numbers and conversions and pipelines and calls, and real estate, like you mentioned, is a totally different animal. You guys are doing open houses and you're trying to do neighbor contacts and you're trying to post on social media. That's very different than a typical sales company. And with Alyssa, you'll be able to actually customize those KPIs to real estate specifically, which is awesome. And I think is what makes us different than everybody else. And so, with that, are we ready to go ahead and win? Yeah, perfect. Well, I want to give you some time to think it over. And with that, I'll give you a call later today and we can talk numbers and I'll send you over a contract and we can get this all signed and ready to go so that you can start helping your sales agents win and reach those revenue goals that you're wanting to for 2025. Awesome. Great, Evans. We'll see you later. Bye. Where does it go?